Hi everybody, welcome to another show of Do You Believe on LiveSci-Fi.tv. I'm your host Noreen, and we have an awesome show tonight. Now, my guest tonight, one of them, is Linda Potter. She is a past regression, what are
Almost.
you?
Past life regression.
Past life regression. But she's also an alien abductee. And I am so happy to have you on because tonight she's telling her story for the first time. She had an encounter, she was abducted, and she's going to tell you her story. Now the thing is, we had another guest with us tonight that was supposed to join us, Yvonne Smith. Well, she's at a conference. And I guess she can't hear her phone or something happened. And she was going to join us, but I guess she couldn't get away because she is at a conference tonight. But you know what? I got Linda with me tonight, and I can't wait to hear your story, Linda. So with that,
shall we take it away?
Yeah, go ahead, Linda.
Well, I think that when it comes to abduction, it's such a huge subject for a lot of people because it's not something that everybody's very familiar with. I know if Yvonne would have been here, which would have been great because her specialty as a hypnotist is PTSD, folks that have PTSD, and she has specialized now in abductions.
Can you explain what
PTSD, post-traumatic stress. So a lot of people from every corner that have had PTSD from being in the military and what they experienced. It can be people that have had abductions and don't know it. And this is where she got into it, which I love because I don't think she set out to do that. And what she's doing for a lot of people is making a very big difference because there aren't a lot of places to go when someone thinks they've been abducted.
Now, Linda, what made you, did you have an inkling that you were abducted, or was there something that you had been dreaming? Why did you think you were abducted?
Well, I never really thought I was. I had some experiences and I hadn't connected the dots. And that happens for more people than not. When I was a kid, I remember seeing a UFO when I was on a camping trip. I was with, it was a girls' camp. I was with a bunch of kids out off an island off of Vermont. And I woke up in the middle of the night and there was a massive disc above my head. Huge. And it scared the hell out of me. I didn't know what it was. I knew it wasn't a plane and I knew that it wasn't a helicopter. And the rest of the night I don't remember anything. I woke up the next day and the girl next to me saw it also, and we brought it up to the counselors. And you know, it's one of those things where people make fun of you, and especially back then. And they made fun of us, so we never brought it up again. And now how that could be let go, I'm really not sure, but the mind doesn't go there. Once you've had that experience, I let it go, never really gave it that much thought. But I know what I saw, and I know that I experienced that thing above my head. And so did the girl that was sleeping next to me. What happened to me was I was co-hosting a television show in Sacramento, and I was asked to do research on UFOs for one of the shows we were doing. And it was in the research that I did that I started to get more knowledge. Because if you're going to start researching UFOs, you're also going to start looking at who's piloting them. And I wasn't expecting to find this massive amount of information on the internet about aliens, ETs, interdimensional, other dimensional, cosmic. All of these terms were all brand new to me. So I went to a UFO conference in Sacramento, and I was sitting in the audience listening to scientists, archaeologists, all kinds of people that are quite scholarly, historians, documentarians, and these guys were serious and they were talking about the subject in a way that I had never heard before. And that's how I started to get into it. And then I thought, well, what the hell did I experience? I also had missing time.
That's one of the signs, isn't it?
It is indeed. Now, the next UFO conference I went to was in San Jose, and this one had people like Richard Dolan and his wife. I had met them at a previous conference. Daryl Sims, the alien hunter who has the television show Uncovering Aliens on television. There were just luminaries in the business. Kim Carlsberg was there also. And at the end of the day, there was this panel discussion. And it was said from a person on the panel, if you've had a dream that was like this, and they explained the scenario, that is very common for abductees to believe what that was is a dream.
Now, Linda, you said that you didn't know about this until 2 years ago?
Exactly.
Now, you're older in life when this happened to you, but do you think that you might have been abducted earlier in life?
Well, I know when I was around the age of 14, when I was out on that island, because I drove to see Yvonne Smith and have a session with her. I had a session with her. I wanted to find out was there anything else that had transpired when I saw the UFO? I didn't know. I couldn't remember anything.
Wow, you actually saw a UFO.
Well, yeah, and a lot of people have. If you ask your neighborhood, if you ask your friends, has anybody ever seen one? Or do you know somebody that has seen one?
I have. But it was way up in the sky. All it looked like was a little white light going back and forth and zigzagging, and then it disappears. But I couldn't see it up close or anything. How close was this UFO to you?
It was so close that I couldn't see the stars for the craft. It was really right above us.
So you're seeing the underneath of this craft. Could you make out, were there windows in it? There were?
On the top side, there were lights that spun. The lights were in it. The thing was, it made, which was really quite disconcerting, because it made a whirring sound, and it should have been bigger, because to me, in my mind,
a humming,
like
maybe?
a humming, a quiet hum, very quiet hum. And the lights were flashing.
What color were the lights?
They were white, they were blue, they were green, from my memory.
I'll be damned.
Yeah.
I've seen that as well. Oh my God.
See, a lot of people have had the experiences. But what really got me, Noreen, was that when I was sitting in that conference, and the woman said, if you've had this experience and you think it was a dream, I was sitting in the audience, and that was the experience I had about 8 years ago. And that's when I knew. That's when I knew I had been abducted.
Linda, now, we've both read the book Chosen.
Yes.
And there were several, or more than several, cases in there. Now, when I read that, each case said something different. Nobody said the same thing.
Right.
The description of the aliens were different. What happened to them was different. Now, you said that you were abducted when you were probably going back to age 14.
Yeah.
Now, in your hypnosis with Yvonne, were you able to give her a description?
Oh, yeah. We went back to two cases, two different situations that I had, and we first went back and went to the island where the craft was above me, and I could feel myself floating upward.
At that time?
Yeah.
But Linda,
I went back to it.
You went back to it.
See,
But wait a minute. You were with somebody else.
Right, there were a group of us kids that were sleeping out underneath the stars on this island with counselors. The camp drops the kids off for an overnighter to see what it's like to sleep under the stars. We all had our sleeping bags. We were laying out in the open. The only two of us that I know of, now maybe some of the other kids remembered it, but nobody said anything the next day. When we woke up, it was about 3 a.m. I know, because I had just gotten a little transistor radio and it had a clock on it. And I was holding it for dear life. I was so frightened by the experience of this, and I could barely talk. And I asked her, I said, "Are you awake?" And she said, "Yes." I said, "Do you see it?" And she said, "Yes." And that's the last I remember from that night until I had the session.
Now, that friend that you were with, was she abducted as well?
Yes.
Were you both abducted at the same time?
Yes.
You were.
Well, I saw her standing next to me in the craft.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Have you talked? So
I haven't been able to find her. I'm trying to. But remember, this is a long time ago.
Yeah.
Her name has changed, but there may be a way.
Well, so you're 14 and you're taken into this craft, and you see her. So what is happening?
This is the thing about the abductions that is, it's a thread that seems to run across them. And Yvonne was really good in giving me information because she has experienced so many people's sessions that there are some things that are pretty much a given. One of the things is how zombie-like we are when we're taken. I mean, how in the hell do they get you out of your bed and into a craft? How do they take you out of your bedroom window?
So is that the levitation that we've seen pictures?
That's what
Is
they're
that a
doing.
description?
Absolutely. I do not know how they do it, but I know they do it.
Well, Linda, do you have a description of what you saw, of what these aliens looked like?
Yeah, but even more, in one of the cases more so than the other. The one that I was camping, that one, I was standing in the circular craft, and what really surprised me was I got the number 150 boys. They were from the age of 6, 7 years old to about 13, 14 years old. And they were lined up, and they went on, and there were so many of them, and they were standing in a row, and they looked zombified. They just weren't in control of themselves. But the interesting thing was I could feel how disconcerted they were by their circumstances.
Linda, did they seem robot-like?
Yeah. Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
And I was. And my friend who was laying next to me out on the open in our sleeping bags, she was zombified, standing there in her PJs, barefoot.
And this is in the
ship.
In the ship.
In the craft.
I also read one of those cases where one of Yvonne's clients said that they were like robot-like.
Yes.
And some of them have an agenda. They work the computers or whatever it is, but they're all like robots. Mm-hmm. Now, what is your description of what you saw?
Well, they have what's termed, and anybody can look that up, you can Google grays, and it's the typical wrapped eyes and short worker bee type of being. And they were there. Then there was one that was they're called Nordics. Very white hair, very human looking, very intelligent, and very much in control.
So now, one of those cases as well, the abductee described them as white. Would you call that a white?
I guess. I don't know if that's the proper term, what they mean. But it was remarkable, the white hair, the short white hair, very pale, very human looking. If you saw this person on the street, you would not know.
And there was a client that she had that there's their drawing. He said that they were very human-like, and that's what he was seeing on the ship.
But see, I think this is the thing. I think that so many of the beings are human-like, and I think they walk among us a lot of the time, and we don't know it.
Yes, I understand that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, is that the only kind you saw? Was the whites?
I saw that. I saw the grays, and I saw the grays twice. Because I had another incident outside my bedroom window, and that was the one where I thought was a dream. And a lot of people, I was told, and I believe it now, wake up when they're in these conferences because somebody will say something and it's a trigger to your memory. And there's a sense to an experience that if it really happened to you or not. And I was so riveted by the comment that was made. And it had to do with a cluster of 3 aliens standing outside my window, my bedroom window. And my dream memory was me floating through my window back into my bed. And I remember in the dream looking down at my bed and thinking, this is the craziest dream ever. I can't float through the window. And then I looked outside my window and I saw 3 beings. One of them was the gray, and then there was one that was taller than him that looked more humanoid, and then there was the blonde guy, very
Really?
human looking.
So
In a cluster, and they were so close to each other. It was odd. And they were communicating with me telepathically, and the gray said to me, you've had a really good time. You'll have a good memory. And I had this euphoric feeling of, oh, this is great. Still thinking it was a dream when I woke up. And I gave it no more concern, no more thought, until I sat in that audience and I was told about the beings that if you think it's a dream. And the thing that was so off the wall is I was floating through the window. Logically, it made no sense to me. But that was the same experience, and is the same experience many people have had.
yeah.
After that happened at that conference, Richard Dolan's wife, at the time, Karen, was standing there, and so was Daryl Sims, the alien hunter. And I said, I don't know you guys. I had met Karen. I said, I just figured this out. I've just listening to the panel, and they both were used to people waking up this way. I could see that. And she said, Linda, your story is giving me the chills. I said, why? Did it happen to you? And she said, I had the same 3 beings in my bedroom door. And from their visit, I got this. And she had a triangular tattoo mark on her wrist.
Oh, yeah.
And that is another commonality that people have that have been abducted that don't know it.
And now, so I found a picture of these things that they insert. I have a look at this. Things that they insert.
Implants. Yeah, and they say that was done a lot more back in the day. They don't do so much of that anymore because it's not necessary.
Really?
That's what I'm told, but other people have more of an expertise in that area than I do. That's for sure.
Now, what do you think they want from us?
Well, I think through the research that I've done for the last 2 years, it's pretty clear that it has been going on for a long, long time. They are certainly capturing the sperm and the egg. They have made so many children, and they are breeding us with them, and they're putting together a whole nother group of humanity. I guess you could call it alien/humans.
Linda, so every time they take one of us up into that ship, is that what they're doing? Or are they also doing experiments as well?
Well, I can't speak for, Yvonne would be a really good one to ask that question to. I think that a lot of time it's taking the sperm and the egg. They want this, and they re-abduct for the mothers to bond with the babies. That I know is happening. I believe that's happening all the time. But I think now they have done so much of that. They have so many children. Kim Carlsberg is a person who, in her experience, has had at least 2 or 3 off-world children. This is a crazy concept for people that have never heard of this before. But when you talk to someone that's had that experience, and sometimes people are conscious through part of their abduction, so they very well know what's happened to them. and the heartbreak it is to have a child taken from you.
So, Linda, why do you think they chose you?
Oh, I have no idea. I really don't. I mean, they're choosing so many people. I think Daryl Sims threw out a comment about this, a statistic, and he will correct me if I'm wrong here, that 1 out of 4 people likely have been abducted.
He did. He said that. And
yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. It used to be said, well, it depends what they're going to use you for. It depends what they're going to use you for. If they want you in the military program for abduction, they tended to go in the past, I don't know if it still holds, to more of the Celtic lineage, the Scottish, Irish lineage, Native American, because there's a predisposition to psychic in your being, and that's what they like to use for their operations. And there's a whole segment of abduction called MIL labs or my labs, which is the military abductions. And the idea of this is the military working in conjunction with these same beings to do the abductions.
Does our government know about this?
Oh yeah, a part of our government, I believe, in my humble opinion, absolutely.
You know, I know our skies are watched. Okay, we've got radar going on all in our skies. So when these abductions are happening with these big ships, where's our airplanes coming out to find out what's going on?
And I think, too, there are cloaking mechanisms that are used with these ships, because people that do sky watches can see how they can be there in a minute and disappear. So they do have cloaking mechanisms that's pretty much commonly known in the research field. But there are UFO, the one in Stevensville, Texas. Steve Allen just spoke at Yvonne's group down in Los Angeles, California, Saturday night. He was part of 60 people that saw this massive ship, and the police, what did he call it? The constable, the police officer saw it, the postman saw it, and people like you and I saw it. I mean, when you have that many people, there's no denying that there was a massive ship. It was tracked through the military. Steve Allen is a pilot, so he very well knows when he's looking at the sky what to expect out of a craft. And he's gave a big speech Saturday night about this to people that even question UFOs, which people still do. But it's quite clear that they're it's quite clear that they're going on. And if you're going to believe that they even exist at all, then you have to be open to who in the hell is piloting these. Is it us? Is it them? Is it both? And it doesn't take much to get on the internet. And yes, you have to be discerning, because there's disinfo out there just like anything else, and start looking at some people that are very respected and just nose around and see what's out there. And there's information there. There's a lot.
So I know we had spoken about this before. They come in and go so fast that I had mentioned to you, they must be here on Earth. They must be here somewhere. And we had talked about them being in the ocean, caves, mountains. Do you know what particular area, like say in California, they tend to go to?
Well, they go all over the world, and they've been spotted coming out of the oceans, out of the water, different bodies of water. They've been spotted coming out of certain mountains. I think it's, is it Mount Adams up in Washington State? Oh, goodness. There's a Isetti Ranch up there, and they have lots of sightings up there. And I don't know if they're coming from the mountain itself, if there's a vortex up there of some sort that they're getting a lot of craft. But
you think they're going into another dimension?
Probably. Yeah, probably. They're able to fold time. They're able to fold time. And the folding time is a concept where instead of going from point A to point B in this long amount of time that it takes to get there, they're folding time so that you can jump right across. And they've been doing this. They've been doing this for a long time.
I happened to think about this the other day. Do they ever take somebody up in their ship and just talk to them? Just to see what they're all about? or their purpose is just to either experiment on you or take your sperm and your whatever to make babies?
I think that there are many, many different species of extraterrestrial or alien beings, and every one of them has a different agenda. The thing is, if you're being taken against your conscious will, I kind of agree with Daryl Sims on this. It's not okay. It's not okay. Some people have the belief, and everybody's belief needs to be respected, but some people have the belief that they're coming to save us. I think that we are within ourselves able to save ourselves. And yes, we have ourselves in a fine fix here right now, globally speaking. But I don't really look to be saved by anybody on a craft myself. Somebody else wants to.
So your experience then, it wasn't a real bad experience then?
I haven't gotten to all of the details. I got enough of the details to go on board the ship to see these young boys on the ship, to see myself there, to see the handler or the controller behind me, who was the same person that was at my window with the other two. Mm-hmm. I don't even know why me, and it's probably just like everybody else. I just haven't gotten to the details of my own. I know that the most recent abduction that I have memory of, that one they took me up in a small craft that had luminescent metal inside of it. It looked like a sunken living room, small, and I felt completely zombified. I mean, that's the best word I can think of. Kind of like you're drugged out, but your mind is still working. Like, what am I doing here? What are they going to ask me to do? Why am I here? Where am I going?
Were you mentally you talking to them and saying that to them?
I wasn't saying anything. I was
my God, really?
Thinking to myself, like a child would think when a parent's taking them for a ride in the car, I wonder where they're really taking me, but they're not saying it. I mean, it was like that.
Now, were you standing? Were you strapped on a table?
Nope. I was sitting it was like a sunken living room setting with this
like
luminescent...
a contour chair?
Well, you know how the old sunken living rooms, it's a step down and it was a circle like a donut. But the metal was, I just knew this. It was extremely thin and bendable, but it was luminescent. And that's the lighting that was inside this small domed craft. And I knew that I was being taken to a larger facility. I don't know where, but I knew that was a transport. And the two handlers in that particular craft were telepathically communicating with someone else, and they were on hold. They were waiting to go. I just knew all of that.
Was that as far as you went in your hypnosis?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. I need to know more.
Yeah, me too.
I want to know more. In one of the cases in that book, Chosen, there was a lady, Mary, who was put in an antifreeze. She called it an antifreeze tank. Now, what's that all about?
That story, Yvonne Smith's book is really good for people who are new to this because it gives you examples. It's all case studies or case examples, the stories of the people who have been abducted. And like you said, Noreen, so many cases are different. Everybody seems to be so vastly different.
I know.
Yet there are similarities, and Yvonne could speak best to those beyond what I certainly could at this point. But in Yvonne's lecture that I saw last year, she has the recording of this woman's session. And she's playing this, and the woman is speaking just like you or I would. And at one point, she says something to the effect like, "Oh shit, they're going to put me in that liquid, this tank of fluid. I'm going to die." Because to our minds, if you're submerged in liquid, your lungs aren't going to breathe.
Exactly.
I told this story to someone after I saw that lecture, and it was so compelling. And one of the women in the audience also woke up to her being abducted at the same lecture. And that's where I got to watch somebody else come awake because something she saw triggered a memory for her.
But did she have that same experience
I
going
don't
into that
know.
liquid?
I didn't talk to her
Well,
afterwards.
it's in this book. There's about what 6, 7,
I think
8, 9 cases, and it's just amazing. Each one is completely different. Each one describes the aliens in a different manner. They all had a completely different experience.
Yet the similarities can be the missing time, losing track of time, being in your vehicle, and then all of a sudden being back in your vehicle very disoriented, or down the road a ways, you're not sure where you are, that kind of thing.
Now, so when I had asked you about that, that just came to my mind that they were experimenting on a human being to see if they could breathe, right?
Well, no, they weren't experimenting. The ETs that took her knew that she would breathe in there. And there's a reason they do that. Now, I had mentioned this to someone who was in the military, and they said that the Navy had this liquid that you could breathe. I haven't corroborated that. I don't know this. But someone said, yeah, they've developed this liquid, and I don't know what its chemistry is, but that you can breathe in this type of liquid. Well, the people that are submerged in this liquid from the cases that I've looked at, they do live. And there was some comment made, I don't know that it's true, that when the ships are traveling, it keeps the organs from getting affected by the fast movement of the craft. I don't know.
And that's really?
I don't know. But because I do know that that's used for incubating. You'll see babies in the liquid. You'll see adults in the liquid.
Oh my God, really? Mm-hmm. Well, this fella, John, that was abducted, and as soon as they took him up into the ship, they wanted him to look at these tanks. And they said, that's your baby. Mm. And he said, and they said, you need to love it.
They wanted
That's
him to
yours.
bond. Yeah.
Do you think that was true?
Well, it's Yvonne's case, so, I leave that to everybody to judge that. But this is common, that when you have children, whether you're the mother or the father, the idea is that they know that children need to bond with their biological parent. And they do that commonly. They will abduct to bond.
But so what happens to him then, since they told him about his baby?
Yeah.
And so I'm sure has multiple abductions. Mm-hmm. And so what do you think happens to him each time that he is abducted? Will they present the baby at different stages to him?
I've heard that they do that, but I think I don't know if that's across the board that happens. I know Kim Carlsberg has met her children that have been off-planet children that she's had, and her story is very interesting to read. She's easy to look up, and these people do interviews, so you can listen on YouTube to some of their stories and see if it sits right with you. But I know that one of the common things they do is they abduct you to bond with the baby that they took.
But that's not in every case. So
I think it pretty much
really
must be. I think so, because that's important to that being. They have plans for that being. They want that being to be sound. And if bonding with the parents is part of that process, whether it's just the mother or the mother and father, they're going to do it, and they do it a lot.
So they took sperm from him. Mm-hmm. So they put it into an alien, or however they do that. Mm-hmm. I wonder if they ever meet the mother or the father.
If the person being abducted does?
Yeah.
Good question. Good question. I don't know.
And so John met his little baby, and how long do you think this is going to happen to him?
As far as
him, how
being
many
taken?
times? Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I know it's important in the beginning, but I don't know that it's necessary after the fact that long. And who knows what the agenda is for that particular ET group.
Because there's so many of them.
different agendas.
You know, another case, they described the alien as an egg. I can't remember which case it was. She described him as an egg.
The alien is an egg?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Know.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Now, there was another interesting case, Katie. That one I thought was the most that one really took me in.
Now refresh my memory.
Katie was the one when she was younger, and I don't know what this has to do with it, but when she was younger, she would go over to her cousin's house, and in the basement, they would see this. She called him Monster McMillion.
Oh.
She actually described him as Slender Man. That's what I thought of as Slender Man, except he didn't have the height. But he had all the other characteristics of a Slender Man. And then from there, then she had an obsession with the devil, and she thought she had been raped by the devil. And then it progressed to find out that she was actually abducted, and they were inserting things inside of her, and that she had many, many babies. When I think when she was 14 years old or 12 years old, she was having babies.
Yeah, and that's
now,
common.
but wait a minute, Linda. But that's because they take the DNA or whatever from you.
They take it, and
then okay.
And sometimes it's miscarriages.
And
there's nothing left, and there should be, but yeah.
Now, this Katie also, and now this one made me cry. At the end of, I don't know if you remember this, but she was in a room, and actually there were other people around her, and humans, other people around her, and she said, "Oh my God, they're screaming," and she said, "And they don't care. These aliens, they don't care. They're like robots. They don't care if these people are hurting." It was so sad to hear that. And then she said, then there was a lady right next to her, laying on a table, and a blonde woman, and she was screaming, "Please don't take my baby. I want my baby." Yeah. Well, after all this hypnosis and everything, she went to a meeting, and she met the lady. She met that lady. Her name was Renee.
Yeah, they connected.
I couldn't believe it.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
The connections, and I mean, the group Zero, and that's worth even talking about, because
go ahead,
this
Linda.
is Yvonne's group that is for abductees, and it's international now, but she holds them in Los Angeles, and I'm hoping she comes up north in Northern California with these, because people that have been abducted, they don't talk about it. I've had people approach me only because of the work that I do with hypnosis, and this is before I even got into this world, that I didn't do on purpose, but bam, there you go, and looky what I found. And there are a lot of people that feel very lost. They're going through anxiety. They have panic attacks. There are other reasons for that, and so many reasons for that. And this group is for people that have been abducted, and they can get together. There's no cameras. There's just the group of people that get to talk about it in a very safe atmosphere. And I think there's a real place for that.
So, Linda, if 1 out of 4 people are abducted, that's a lot of people.
If it's true. Yeah.
If it's true, right. So why aren't more people talking about this and letting us know what's going on?
Well, it's like me talking about it to you today. Now, the work that I've done with hypnosis and past life regression for 20 some odd years has been a woo-woo factor for me early on, and I just didn't really talk about it too much to people. I just figured they would find me, and they did. This is a whole nother layer here, because people, I'm not worried about it, but people lose jobs. People are, they lose credibility with family, with friends. Families don't take to this too well, because it makes them very uncomfortable. Because if it can happen to you, chances are other family members have had the same experience. It kind of forces them to look at that. It's common, very common. And you know what's so interesting is recently, the last year or so, a family member mentioned that my mother had seen a UFO. when I was about, 8 years old. And she came home freaked out. It was rural. We lived very rural. And she was freaked out because she had seen a UFO. And she made a beeline home as quickly as she could.
I've heard that same story from others.
Have you now?
From what I've read, yeah. So she could have been abducted
Oh,
as
sure.
well.
Oh, probably, right?
Yeah,
probably.
I would think, because it would be, I just can't imagine them in one family only taking one.
Yeah.
Without taking the others.
Yeah, and it's pretty common that more family members go.
Now, you have siblings?
I do.
Have you talked to them?
I've mentioned it to them. Yeah, I've mentioned this to them.
Linda, how long do you think, now, do you think you've had another abduction at some point?
Well, there are two for sure that I've already gotten parts of, and I have a section of missing time. And that one I want to go after because that was probably the most disconcerting out of the 3 experiences.
So, Linda, do you think then because people have experienced missing time, but I'm not sure, I think that happened to me, but I think I was just like went into another dimension, but I don't think I was ever abducted. I don't think that has anything to do with it.
It may not be. I couldn't say for sure. I mean, that's something that only you would be able to figure out. I know that it is one of the commonalities with abductions, especially if you've had missing time and you are lost as to, you find yourself, whether you're driving, you're in your car, you don't know where you are, you're on a freeway, you don't know what city you're in. It takes you, it seems like an eternity, Linda, to figure out where you are.
But Linda, that happened to me.
There you have it.
No, that happened to me. Didn't I tell you
yes,
that?
Yes, you did. You didn't ask me what I thought.
Oh. Well, why didn't you say something? Because it was at 2:30 and I didn't get home till 4:45. Now I know that's weird.
Yeah. I'm not going to say that it is or not. That's the kind of thing that you could do a hypnosis session on, or just sit and contemplate a little bit on it. Because the last thing I wanted to believe is that I had an abduction experience. That is not something I was looking for. That is not something I like. I don't like it at all. Excuse me. In fact, when I figured it out at that UFO conference, it was like somebody just shoved a lightning bolt up my ass and I was pissed. I was pissed. Who the hell thinks they can come in my bedroom and rip my ass off? And Daryl Sims and Karen Dolan were standing there, and I was beside myself, just wanting to go take care of business about this. And I couldn't get information fast enough because it becomes personal when you figure out you've had that experience. Now it's personal. Who the hell are they? What are they doing here? Did I really give permission at somewhere along the line that this was okay? Why are we so zombified when we're there? Why are they making all these children from us? What's the agenda?
Exactly.
What's the agenda? So to figure it out, it really takes a lot of looking into that, and to people who have been looking into this for far longer.
You know, Linda, I had read that the government years ago gave the aliens permission to abduct us.
Yeah, but I think even before that it was happening too. But that's all out there. It was Eisenhower, during the time of Eisenhower, and people can just Google Eisenhower and aliens and it'll come up.
Oh my God.
And people, you know, if this doesn't fit right to folks, then they should just chalk it up and not research it. But to some people, they really do want to know more. And you know, frankly, I think it's important that we start looking at what is this about. Most people will agree that there is such a thing as a UFO. And if you grab that little thread, it's going to unravel a whole bunch of stuff, and it will take you down a rabbit hole that I think is well worth it, because you might as well have more knowledge, even if you don't necessarily believe it, but at least know what's being said out there. And if you've had an experience, it will resonate with you somewhere along the line.
So, Linda, do you think maybe right now you can't remember if you were abducted within the last year or so, but how long do you think this can go on. How long will they do this?
I don't know that. I don't know what the numbers are for that. I don't know how long specific people have been tracked for that.
What's the youngest? Do you know?
Oh, infants.
They abduct infants?
Yeah.
Now, how can they do that?
There's some, when they're doing my lab, the military stuff, they train toddlers, they train, yeah.
You were telling me about can you talk about that?
Well,
Tell the viewers.
The thing is I don't know. I only know what I've researched. I only know what has totally blown me away. And I think if somebody's interested in the My Lab experience, they can Google it and start looking at it. There's a lot of documents there. A lot of the stuff has been documented in, and it's up online. You can get it and go to people that are more reputable. You don't, just start looking around and you'll see people that have been in the militaries, people that have been super soldiers as they're called, which a lot of those guys don't like to be called super soldiers, that were in the programs as babies. And they can tell you their story.
So they're taken away from their parents?
They're taken away. Sometimes their parents are involved in the government in some way, shape, or form, and they agree to this, and they turn their children over.
Oh my God.
It's common. Yeah, it has happened.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
Those stories are... in fact, when I had my radio show, I interviewed a man that had experienced that as an infant. And as a young baby, he has recall of being... And it wasn't off-planet. It was in a military base.
Oh, my
Now,
God.
people can say that can be BS, but it changes a person that goes through that. And they have all kinds of stuff as adults because of it.
Now, Linda, do you want to talk any more about your abduction?
I think there's not that much more to talk about mine. I still have a lot more to find out. Very anxious to go after the missing time. And I've been speaking to Yvonne about that. I'll make another trip to her and see what we can find there. As far as my own stuff, it's pretty docile so far compared to what other people have experienced.
Well, maybe it just didn't come out yet.
Well, and the other thing is some people have, are like Daryl Sims, he's one, where you're conscious when it's happening. You're awake, you come awake, and you're under your own power more, and that creates a little bit of a problem for them because, and we're waking up quicker than we ever used to. So those folks that have had those experiences, to me, I like to listen to their stories and how they maneuver their situations. And I mean, like you said, even in Yvonne's book, out of 9 cases, they're all different.
Exactly. I mean, I would expect to see that at least a couple of them were the same, but no, each one is completely different.
And that's where, when you research it, it becomes a bit overwhelming because you're trying to figure out what the hell is the commonality here? What is it that, is there something that you can say for sure it's this way? And it just, there's a sea of information to get through.
Now, you want to know what's happening with you lately? You're starting to get involved in this now.
In what respect?
Your clients. This is something new for you.
Well, I think it's with everybody. If you're a carpenter, let's just use an analogy here. If you're a carpenter and you've just learned a brand new technique of carpentry, you're doing maybe more fine work. For some reason, you're going to start coming across projects or people that are now doing fine work, so that you are now doing what they're doing, or people are being drawn to you because now that's what you're doing. And so you all start doing the more finer stuff. For me, because of my interest in the extraterrestrial now and wanting to figure this out, more clients are coming that are saying up front that they know they've had experiences, that they've been abducted. They're pretty sure that they have. And I always say, you'll be the one to judge. My job is to get you relaxed, and your job is to get the information. And it's just starting to happen more than I ever thought it would.
Aren't you excited?
I am, because what excites me? That they're okay enough to even say that they think that they've had that experience. Because it shows me that people are getting more brave about bringing it up, and they know I'm not going to think I'm crazy, especially now where having my own experiences, hell, you're not crazy. You just need to find out what it was that happened to you.
So, so in a past life regression, you'll be able to find out from them?
Well, yeah, and it won't necessarily be a past life regression at that point.
So how will you do that then?
Well, it's the same process of relaxing someone.
It's
the hypnosis aspect, just to get them relaxed and just to go back to what they remember and then have them just fill in the blanks.
Now, so if somebody out there is now thinking about, well, you know what? I did lose some time. I don't remember where I was. And if they want to know, and if anybody is local in California, in our area, Contra Costa County,
anywhere
whatever,
in Northern California. I drive to Los Angeles.
There you go.
I
Contact
drive about
Linda.
6 hours to go to see Yvonne down in Southern Cal. But yeah, even just to talk about it and maybe give them references, I would be happy to do that.
Give them your website, Linda.
Sure, it's lindapotter.net. It's that easy.
That's easy.
Yeah, lindapotter.net.
Now, Linda, is there also a possible test that somebody can take if they?
Yeah, actually, what's really wonderful, and I noticed Daryl Sims has this on his website, The Alien Hunter, and Yvonne Smith also. If you go into their websites, you're able to download a form that it's a questionnaire for you to take that will help you to understand if maybe you've been abducted. And it's not a surefire, but it makes you get linear about, okay, have I had, let's say, missing time? Have I had this? Have I had that? And I found that really a good exercise for me. So, and I used Yvonne's, but I know Daryl does it as well. So that's what I would suggest somebody does. That'll kind of be a good way to start.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to check her out.
Yeah.
Gee, Linda, thanks so much for sharing your story.
Oh, you're welcome.
First time.
Yeah, and it's important, and I'm only doing it because there are people that might listen to this that may think or feel that they might have had experiences, and maybe for some people this is a brand new subject and they're really not sure where to put it. Either way, it's okay. It's my story,
and I love it. I think it's awesome. I can't wait to find out when you have more sessions with Yvonne. I'm dying to find out what else happened to you.
I'll be happy to share. It's educational.
Yeah. And by the way, Daryl Sims, I was telling Linda, the Alien Hunter. Now he has a show on TV, right?
Yep.
He has agreed to come on the show in July, and I'm going to have Linda come back with me, and we're going to interview Daryl and hear his story. Mm-hmm. And we also are going to have a subject that we'd like to speak to him about. The connection between ghosts and
aliens. Yeah, I think that that is a subject that you don't hear people mix too much. Is it possible that maybe some of these interdimensional things that people are seeing, angels or beings that ascended master type beings or ghost type beings, is it possible that this could be the alien sector getting us to buy into something? And I think it really proves to take a look at, because some of the stuff I'm looking at now is pretty compelling, and these guys are pretty sharp at what they do.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So everybody, thank you so much for joining Do You Believe on Live Sci-Fi. Please subscribe and please give us a like. We'd appreciate it. And I have another show next Sunday. Erin Ryder from Destination Truth will be joining me, and she's going to tell us all her fantastic adventures and some of the scariest ones that she's been on. So Linda, thanks so much for joining me tonight. Thank you. It was such a pleasure. I love having you on the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
And everybody, with that, we're going to say goodnight. Have a great week, and thank you for joining us. Good night, everyone.